Don't reveal your true feelings easily. People infer your thoughts from the emotions you show on the outside. Therefore, there is no practical wisdom like not revealing true feelings. A person who plays a card game by showing his lungs will soon lose all the money he has. By being sparing with your words and actions, you will arouse people's curiosity. When people are persistent in trying to find out what you are thinking, hide your thoughts like a squid that has spewed out its ink, so that others do not know and cannot predict your disposition, for if they know your disposition, they can use it to their advantage, either by putting you down or by flattering you. Be a necessary person rather than a grateful person. Music. The person who makes a god sacred is not the one who adorns the statue, but the one who worships the statue. The wise person seeks to be a necessary person rather than a grateful one. Make the other person expect and depend on you rather than thank you. Expectation is remembered for a long time, but gratitude is soon forgotten. A thirsty man quenches his thirst with water from the well. He goes his own way, and the most delicious orange, after eating its core, throws its peel into the garbage, and when dependence is gone, there is no more courtesy, no more respect. Charm is the most powerful tool in the house. Charm is the wise magic of attraction. There is nothing in the world that can succeed by merit without attracting the heart. The most powerful means of dominating others is to get them to do you a favor and praise you. If you are naturally attractive and easily gain popularity, you are a very lucky person. But even natural attractiveness shines when you put in the effort to gain human liking and respect, not just temporary popularity. And to win people's hearts, you must find your inner charm. Do your potential enemies a favor. A wise person sees the other person's baby and turns it into a favor. An eye for an eye is an eye for an eye, and anyone can return the favor. But turning a potential enemy into a henchman or someone who harms your reputation into an advocate for your cause takes insight into the other person and the ability to see through them. It is impossible without patience. Do the person with the baby a favor and make them feel grateful. This is a cunning maneuver that only a person of cool reason and calmness can wield. This way, you can steer everything in your favor. Real foolishness and fake foolishness. There are people who appear to be ignorant on the outside but are actually very wise. They act stupid when they're around stupid people and crazy when they're around crazy people. They know the art of speaking in a language that the other person understands. Depending on the situation, sometimes it's not the person who is stupid, it's the person who doesn't act stupid. Who is stupid? In order to win someone's favor, you have to be able to act appropriately stupid. Desire is the same as weakness. Everyone has something that they like and even idolize. Some people idolize a good reputation, others idolize profit, and most people idolize pleasure. The important thing is to find out which idol drives your opponent. The most important motive that drives your opponent is usually, this motivation comes from crude nature, not from refined character, because nature is naturally uncontrolled. Tempt him with what his nature most desires, and you will have him at your disposal. Have someone to share your misfortune. A foolish man takes all the blame himself and ends up being the object of all blame and hatred. The wise man has someone ready to defend him, someone to share his difficulties with. When two people join hands, neither misfortune nor a foolish crowd dares to act against them. A wise doctor, in case a patient dies in the course of his treatment, arranges in advance for someone to carry his body for him. Misfortune and sorrow are halved when shared by two, but doubled when suffered alone. Excessive favors become a burden. Do only as many favors as the other person can repay, and don't give too much. Giving too much is selling. Not giving. Don't write a book about how to repay a favor, because if you feel you can't, the other person may cut off contact with you and the child to protect his or her pride. If, on the contrary, you want to cut off contact with the other person, do so. Place an excessive burden on his heart by giving him excessive favors, then most people will not be able to bear the continuation of an unequal relationship and will avoid you. God does not like to see the sculptor who made his statue. Similarly, the recipient of a favor finds it burdensome to be near the one who gave it to him. Therefore, rather than giving excessive favors all at once, giving a little and often is a wise way to keep a good relationship alive. Maintain a sense of mystery with moderate silence. Most people think that what they understand is not great and what they don't understand is great. The exotic is more expensive than the familiar, and what they don't know is overrated. Similarly, when people feel a sense of mystery about you, they will be more likely to trust you. Think more highly of you therefore. If you want to have a good reputation, don't go into too much detail about yourself, just enough to give them a sense of what you mean. But not enough to give them a chance to criticize you. Most people worship unknown or mysterious things without knowing why they praise them. Don't be frivolous, don't be foolish, don't be suspicious. Don't be unreasonable, be wise. People trust others only after they have known them for a long time. The world is full of frauds, deceptions, and lies, so those who trust others hastily and frivolously will suffer embarrassment and be betrayed. But when someone promises you trust, don't be quick to doubt his sincerity, and don't treat him as an open liar or ask him not to lie. Then the other person will feel insulted and deeply hurt. Furthermore, people will think that you yourself are far from the truth because you do not trust the other person. Distinguish between what you will say and what you will not say. We never fully own anyone, not only in the most intimate of human relationships, such as blood or friendship, but also in relationships that add considerable obligations, such as professional and social. There is a difference between complete trust and complete possession. Even between the closest of friends, there are certain things that must be kept and certain things that must not be said. Even between parents and children, there are certain things that must be confided in one person and concealed from another, and vice versa. And so we must decide on a case-by-case basis what to confide and what to conceal. We must be able to distinguish between them. Without realizing this, no relationship can lead to deep trust. Interpret the words of those who have babies in their arms in the opposite way. Interpret the words of those who have babies in their arms in the opposite way. Affirmations. They say mean negations, and negations mean affirmations. The reason why they strongly condemn something is because they actually consider it to be the best also. By praising the bad, they denigrate the good. When a person insensitively says that everything is fine, he actually means that he doesn't like anything. A wise man never reveals the full extent of his knowledge and courage. He makes people aware of his abilities, but he does not make them know him inside and out. Therefore, no one knows the extent of his capabilities, and for that reason, no one is disappointed in him. People respect him more when they guess at the extent of his capabilities and wonder if he is really capable than when they know exactly the limits of his opponent. Excessive politeness is a kind of deception. There are people around us who sprinkle magic without even using magic potions. They know that a polite greeting is enough to win people's favor, and by being polite and friendly, they win the other person's favor. But a person who promises everything is actually promising nothing. Such promises are a trap to lure foolish people. True politeness is a duty, but politeness that is a sincere dream is a deception, and excessive politeness is a trap to the other person. Dependence on the other person. They bow their heads before power or property, not the other person's humanity. They use flattery to win favors, not the other person's personality, to avoid being taken advantage of by these people. One must be able to distinguish between true politeness and excessive politeness. A good word is a word spoken quickly. Avoid boring people. Do not dwell on one topic, or keeping anything you say short is better for the listener and more effective. It is a very wise attitude to make a dull atmosphere pleasant by short, lucid conversation. It is as effective as regaining favor lost by rude behavior by speaking with courtesy. It is even better if your short remarks have a good message in them. Even if the content is not good, keep it short. If you have achieved something great, don't boast about it and don't make a show of it. Be content with the fact that you have achieved it and leave the praise of your achievements to others. Don't make people write glowing things about you in order to make them praise you forever. To be a hero rather than to look like one. Strive to be honorable. A person of honor is more wary of his faults. The world has become a place where we can no longer trust others. Honorable deeds are lost, trust is betrayed, and grace is easily forgotten. The more caring and giving a person is, the less he gets. The more he gives, the less he gets. To one person, betrayal; to another, capriciousness; to another, deceit. Now we pay attention to the actions of others, not to imitate them, but to protect ourselves, because our reputation, built up over a long period of time, may be destroyed in one fell swoop because of someone's destructive behavior. Nevertheless, the truly honorable person is always more vigilant of his own actions, not those of others. Control your feelings of hatred. We often instinctively hate others even before we know their character. And sometimes these shallow feelings of hatred led us to point our arrows at people of great character and outstanding talent to create a favorable situation for yourself. You must be able to control your feelings of hatred, for there is nothing more damaging to yourself than hating someone who is better than you. The more you associate with great and brilliant people, the more you excel, and the more you hate them, the less you are the wisdom of indifference. Sometimes you can get what you want by pretending to be indifferent. You don't have to get upset if you don't get what you want right away, because what you really want will come to you, curiously enough, if you wait for it to be born. Everything in the world is like a shadow. The closer you get to it, the more it moves away, and the further it moves away, the more it approaches. This reasoning applies equally to human relationships. Don't fuss over nothing. There are people who make up useless things and fuss over nothing. They not only fuss all the time, but they also take everything seriously, causing disputes, and there is nothing so foolish as taking things to heart that should be ignored and passed over. There are many things that are terrifying at first, but become trivial when left alone. There are many things that can be easily handled, but when wished for, they become more serious. Don't be foolish enough to try to cure a mild illness, only to make it worse. Exaggeration is a characteristic of fools. Claims that overuse superlatives are never excusable. Such claims distort the truth and cloud judgment. Exaggeration and bluster not only harm one's dignity, but also reveal a lack of intelligence and a lack of established values. Praise arouses curiosity, and curiosity stimulates desire. However, in reality, as often when an item fails to live up to expectations, as often happens in reality, the customer feels cheated and blames the person who praised it and the item for it. Therefore, wise and sensible people seek out those who have the discernment to recognize it rather than lose credibility in the process. Exaggeration is a kind of lying, and those who disappoint people with exaggeration and bluster are not only judged to be without judgment, but also the accusation of being a liar. Don't force respect. Nothing offends others more than bragging about the fact that you're in a high position, not your abilities. Nothing offends others more than bragging about how great you are. Respect belongs to the other person, not to you. The harder you try to be respected, the further away you get from it, and the less respectable you are if you deserve it. Be still and people will follow if you want to be respected. Be still and wait if you want to be respected. Be worthy of your position and do the job that has been entrusted to you. A person who demands respect because he is in a high position only reveals the fact that he is not worthy of the position. Don't compete with someone who has nothing to lose. Don't compete with someone who has nothing to lose. Never compete with them. Competing with them is like quarreling on unequal terms. The other person enters into the competition with nothing at stake. He has already lost everything, including his shame, and therefore he engages in all sorts of disrespectful words and actions, having abandoned his honor. You should never compete with someone who has so much at stake, even with a single spell. A wise man does not compete for his honor recklessly. They do so with the utmost discretion, watching for the right moment to wisely back down if they do win. They know that they can never regain the honor they have lost in the process, because they know that they will never be able to regain it. Do not try to know your superior's secrets. It is a mistake to think that you have become his vassal. Just because he has confided in you, hearing the secrets of your subordinates is not a privilege but a burden on the heart. Man breaks a mirror that reminds him of his ugly appearance. Likewise, he shies away from those who see his true form and finds it a burden to know his shortcomings. Especially the superior cannot tolerate the inferior holding on to his weaknesses. He may boldly abandon even his own reason in order to regain his lost freedom. For this reason, a man who was once the henchman of a powerful man and was ruined in an instant may dare to become a jockey. Therefore, it is wise to neither hear nor speak of the secrets of the superior. Do not compete with the superior, for all victory is inevitable brings hatred, especially if the inferior defeats the superior, which is even greater. Just as dreams are not dreamt of and beauty is not shown off, one should not show off one's merits too much in the presence of one's superior. People feel envy, but not jealousy or hatred towards those who are more fortunate or superior in character to them, but those who are superior in ability or intellect to them are subject to envy and jealousy. A person in a high position wants to be the best at what he does. Especially in terms of intellect, a monarch allows his subjects to assist him, but never to surpass him. Therefore, when giving advice to a superior, it should not be as if you are giving him a lesson, but rather as if you are reminding him of something he has forgotten. should be taken as a consequence of vain publicity. There are some people who engage in unusual and capricious behavior out of a sense of pride or a desire to stand out. People look at such a person and rather than thinking that he has a strong personality, they think that he is possessed by vanity and vain publicity. Like a person who is widely known because he has an unusually ugly face, he becomes, and instead of gaining a good reputation, contrary to his wishes, he ends up being the butt of ridicule. Normal and abnormal. Often, politicians say it is better to be crazy with the whole world than to be normal by yourself if everyone else is crazy. You are crazy too. If you are normal by yourself, people will think you are crazy. Think you are crazy. The important thing is to go with the flow of the times. There is nothing so foolish as not knowing the flow or pretending not to know it. Everyone must live in the company of others if you want to live alone. You must either live as holy as a god or live the life of a complete beast. Use silence as a shield. The heart of a man who has no secrets is like an open letter. Silence is it is a true victory to remain silent when it is needed to emerge from great self-control. Conversations with people who are out to marginalize you. Conversations with people who are out to manipulate you. Conversations with people who are out to manipulate you. Conversations with people who are out to hide their ulterior motives and who are out to manipulate you. Remaining silent is easier said than done, but the wise man knows what he is doing in action and does not repeat what he has already done for them. Silence is an excellent shield to protect their talents. Pretend you didn't hear a word. People with evil envy seek to make a name for themselves by slandering outstanding people. They cannot create outstanding works themselves, so by setting fire to works that boast of fame, they hope to make themselves forever. The best way to deal with them is to ignore them, and they will be left with a 5, rather than the honor they crave. The most effective way to silence gossip about you is to pretend you didn't hear about it. The more you fight back and raise counter-arguments, the less people will believe you, and the more the slanderer will feel insidiously satisfied. Do not sow discord by creating cliques. Never get carried away with outrageous things that invite reproach. There are people in the world who have peculiar tastes, who like whatever is rejected by the wise and sensible. They do not obey the discipline and rules of the organization, but create their own fools and do all sorts of mischief, and because of this, they become a mockery to the world. Whereas the wise, they are not arrogant about themselves, and they maintain proper harmony with others, yet they show their individuality. They do not form cliques for no reason, and they value rules and principles, and they preserve their honor by avoiding anything that would make them the object of ridicule. And the tongue is like a beast, and once it is loosed, it cannot be gagged. The tongue is the pulse of the mind. A wise person knows the state of health of the mind and reads the mind through the words of others. The unfortunate thing is that the one who should be most careful with his tongue is the one who teases the tongue, whereas a wise person is always careful with his words, so that he does not get into trouble, avoids embarrassing situations, and shows that he has great self-control. Do not rebuke others without reason. Stem the tide. Only great philosophers like Socrates can go against the grain. Ordinary people shouldn't behave this way. People take it as an insult to themselves when someone holds an opinion that differs from theirs, because they take it as an accusation that their ideas are wrong, regardless of whether they are right or wrong. They attack only the fact that the other person has expressed an opinion different from their own. On the other hand, a wise person does not argue with others about the rightness or wrongness of their opinions, nor does he give them the opportunity to attack his own. He never reveals his opponent's thoughts, even if he knows that he has heard them. Everyone has the right to think freely. Therefore, no one can or should scold another person for his thoughts. A wise person retreats to his seat and remains silent when his opponent expresses an opposing opinion, and speaks his mind only to the wise and wise who understand what he is saying. Improve yourself day by day. No one is perfect from birth, so you must improve yourself day by day in order to improve your character and excel. When a foolish person is content with what he has and makes no effort, a wise person disciplines himself daily to acquire noble tastes, pure intellect, firm will, and mature judgment. As a result, the foolish person lives until the last moment, lacking the most important things, while the wise person eventually reaches perfection, even if it takes a long time. A person who reaches perfection by refining himself daily is recognized by those who are just as wise and prudent as he is, and naturally associates himself with them. Always renew your mind. A person's base changes every 7 years, so you should further develop your knowledge and tastes to match these changes. New talents are acquired one by one for this reason. Many people want to modify their behavior and change their living conditions to coincide with the times of change, or to rise to a higher position or find a suitable job. However, because these changes take place gradually over a considerable period of time, if one's mind is not alert, one will miss the times of change and will always remain in the same place. Not a single day sounds. Don't let it go. The goddess of fate likes to play tricks on us by inserting herself into our lives at random times. The goddess of fate waits for the perfect opportunity to catch us off guard. The day we think we're in the clear can turn out to be the most dangerous day of all the time. We're most confident is the time we're most vulnerable to attack. The goddess of fate can be completely immobile when we're on guard, and then she can strike unexpectedly, and chooses a day to strike when we least expect it. Therefore, we must always be prepared for this, armed with intelligence, courage and wisdom. Beware of those who are overly flattering when asking for favors. There are those who make it seem as if they are doing the other person a favor when they are in the position of asking for it. By being overly protective of the other person when asking for favors, they get what they want by mere praise, and use flattery and politeness to impose obligations and burdens on others. This is a very subtle technique to avoid being taken advantage of by them. You should beware of excessive praise when asking for favors. You should see through their tricks and give them what they deserve. Read the tides of fortune when embarking on an important undertaking. You should be aware of how much fortune is helping you. This is far more important than knowing your temperament and abilities' physical features. It is foolish to read the books of Hippocrates at the age of 40 in the hope of discovering the secrets of health. It is even more foolish to read the books of Seneca at the age of 40 in the hope of gaining wisdom. It is even more foolish to read Seneca's books at the age of 40 in the hope of gaining wisdom instead. It is a more effective and wise attitude to read the flow of fortune and act accordingly. If fortune is helping you, move forward bravely, for fortune loves a confident and imposing person when it calls you to shut up. Don't do anything, but stand back and wait. If you want to correct your shortcomings, disclose them. Everyone lives with advantages and disadvantages, but the moment we give in to our disadvantages, they rule over us like a tyrant. Therefore, we must confront them with prudence and conquer them. The first thing to do in order to conquer your disadvantages is to pay attention to your own disadvantages. Furthermore, you should disclose them and pay the same. It is much easier to overcome your shortcomings when you know what others think of them. Be sensible rather than clever. Be sensible rather than overly clever. A person who acts shrewdly is apt to become cunning, and this is to his or her own detriment. It is good to be intelligent, but it is not good enough to be cunning. But it is dangerous to know too much and weary others with it. Excessive criticism leads to strife and a reputation as a foolish person. A wise person never strays from the matter at hand, but always remains sensible. Hope for the best, but expect the worst. Evaluate your own abilities with a thoroughly objective yardstick. We are all generous with ourselves and think highly of ourselves, usually more so than those who are not very conceited. There is no one who does not dream of good fortune, and no one who does not consider himself a genius, but there is no one who has high hopes without really knowing himself, ends up failing because he hopes for an outcome he cannot actually achieve. A wise person always hopes for the best, but at the same time expects the worst, so he accepts whatever outcome comes his way. Reject flattery and embrace reproach. Don't think much of a person who never refutes your opinion, because he don't let the cattle of their sweet flattery bring you misery, for they are not for your sake but only for their own. The criticism, especially from the wise, is an honor, and when no one criticizes your opinions or ideas, take it seriously, for it is proof that your ideas or views have no value. Hide the effort. The wise man hides the effort in what he does so that it appears as if the result of what he does is due to his natural talent. People appreciate what is natural more than what is artificial, so when they see a person who performs conceitedly, they think that he is deliberately exaggerating more to show himself off because he has no talent. As much as the wise man strives to hone his talent, he should also strive to, however, he should not be so modest that he becomes more conceited than he is, for it is only when others admire his talent while he himself is indifferent that he is judged to be a man of ability and character. Show off your talent appropriately. God created the world and endowed it with light to make it stand out. Along with the courage and wisdom to show it off, there are several skills required to showcase your talent first. You need to seize the most appropriate time, because the opportunity will not come to you if you do it wrong. You will miss the opportunity and not be able to showcase your talent properly. You should not flaunt your talent by pretending that it is something insignificant. People despise the vanity of people. Sometimes in spoken eloquence, the nonchalant display of exceptional abilities is a great show of flattery. It is also effective to reveal exceptional talents. Little by little, rather than all at once, distinguish between anger and incompetence. The inability to be angry even in unjust situations makes one incompetent. The reason they do not get angry is not because they are good, but because they are foolish. When the birds realize that the scarecrow is immobile, they mock him and peck at the grain. The same is true in human relationships. A wise person blends bitterness and sweetness in all his relationships. If there is only sweetness, it will have the texture of the junk food of children, and fools' decisiveness is the hallmark of winners in the world. There are many things that are done hastily, which cause more harm than good. In war, more damage is done by standing still than by moving. In life, more damage is done by standing still than by moving. There are those who cannot make up their minds and want others to carry their backs. They know how to deal with it, but they do not act on it because they are indecisive. On the contrary, there are those who act with agility and never get themselves into difficult situations. There are also people who achieve success effortlessly because of their good judgment and resolute determination. They always have time to spare, and are full of confidence because they put their words into action at the same time as they speak. Choose to do things that are applauded, just as a breeze makes flowers blossom in the springtime. Great talent needs an environment that recognizes it. It is like the relationship between breathing and life. There are some things that are applauded by many people and others that are important but go unnoticed by people. The former are not only recognized by everyone, but are lavishly praised, while the latter, despite requiring more skill, are not recognized by many and may be respected, but not applauded. Among the many monarchs, only the victorious ones are applauded. Makes a name for himself. For this reason, the kings of Spain were applauded as heroes in the firefight. A man of great talent should undertake a widely known task that will be recognized by all, and then people will make him an immortal figure. Don't reveal that which is unfinished. Anything is bound to be unfinished at first, but the person who sees it unfinished, who sees it in its unfinished state, the impression remains in his mind, and even when he sees it in its finished state, the memory comes back to him and prevents him from appreciating it. A glimpse of the whole unfinished thing does not excite curiosity, but rather serves to impress upon him its deficiencies. Anything is not properly appreciated unless it is finished. Even the most delicious food is half appetizing, or rather unpleasant, if one sees the process of cooking it. For this reason, all great masters rarely show their works to others, which are all in the beginning stages. We can learn this lesson from nature as well. Nature never presents herself to the world until the time is right. If you want to make a fortune, you must develop guts. If you want to make a big fortune, you must have a huge stomach to digest it. Even small fortunes fill you up and you throw them away. Some people are so full of small fortunes that they gobble them up, while others are still hungry. No matter how big they are, those who don't have the guts to accept good fortune, no matter how big they find it, don't enjoy it properly. They are not endowed with the ability to handle the work that goes with high positions, nor have they cultivated the abilities required for high positions, and even if they do get to high positions, they can't handle it. They feel dizzy and give up soon afterward. To win good fortune, you must avoid giving the impression that you are a timid person. You must always be confident and relaxed, acting as if you can handle even the most enormous tasks. You must be able to shift the blame for your failures onto others. You must also know the art of fending off the attacks of the wicked. Many times you are criticized not because you are incompetent, but because you are unable to pass on your responsibility to someone else, because no matter how brilliant you are, you cannot succeed in everything and you cannot please everyone. So if necessary, you should create a shield devil to take the blame for your failures on your behalf. Success is the best revenge for those who criticize you, and there is no greater deed than to defend, and no more heroic revenge than to torment those who envy you by displaying your natural achievements. Your success becomes a severe torture for those who wished you misfortune. And your glory becomes a hell for those with whom you are in rivalry. To torment your opponents by succeeding is the greatest revenge. The envious man does not die only once, he dies anew every time the man he envies is applauded. If the envied man's fame lasts, so does the envied man's suffering. The former lives forever in glory, the latter in torment. The trumpet of fame proclaims immortality to the former, and hanging to the latter for his troubles.